Hello and welcome to Sage X3 quick video tutorials, and in today's session I'm going to talk about how to track internal transactions. Alright, so for that I will be creating a PO, receive it and invoice it, and then do a status change. Then I'll be creating a sales order, delivery invoice, and do a partial customer return, and then do a status change, and then view the stock transactions inquiry for the stock movements and also the stojo table. Alright, so I have a product BMS 125 for this test, and I'm going to create the PO first. So creating a PO so that I can receive the stock into inventory. Okay, so the product's order site is NA023 and the supplier NA009, and then the item reference here underlines BMS 125. Ordered quantity is going to be 10, and then the gross price is 20, which is the standard cost. So figure number 95. And I'm going to receive the PO. Use the left list to pick the order and click create. So you can see the trace file indicates the receipt number and then the tables that got modified for this by this transaction. And let me write down the receipt number, and then I will create invoice, which is not a required step, but for this demo purposes I just wanted to create an invoice. Invoice type is INV, document number, and select the receipt from the left list. Click create and then post the invoice. Alright, so now the receipt that you received it's in Q status, so we need to change the status from Q to A so that I can create the sales order and deliver that sales order. So you can see underlines. Okay, so that's good. So it did received it in A status, so we don't need to worry about changing the status here. So we can straight away go and create the sales order. The shipment site is also the same as the order site, and then the product here, and we are going to order 10, and I have a sales price list of 25 for that line. Okay, and then I'll create the delivery and validate the delivery and create the invoice. And I can also post it. Alright, so once the sales process is complete, now we're going to return, like customer is going to return a partial quantity that was delivered. So I'm going to create the sales return. GS SDQ. Oh, sorry, that's not it. And it's for the quality control. GS return, customer return GS SRH. So click new. And then I'm going to click the delivery selection to pick the delivery, which is 54, and the return quantity is 6. Return reason is the defect. Update stock is yes, and then status here is Q. Alright, so create the customer return. Return number 5. Alright, so I have created the return. Now return is in Q status. So now next step is for me to change the status from Q to A. So I will be using a stock change transaction, which is GES SCS, the function name. And specifically I'm going to select the transaction CHS, which is status change. So I click new and then enter the product reference and use the left list stock selection tab to pick the line. So you can see the status, current status is Q for the return quantity of 6, and I'm going to change it to A status because it has been inspected and it can be used again, so I'm changing the status to A. And then click create. Again, you can see the log reading for the stock movements. So this is the store trace file. And then now I have changed the status from Q to A. So this is what would have triggered an internal movement, right? So to view these internal movements, we can use the stock transactions inquiries. So that is under stock inquiries, movements and stock transactions, and select the site, product, and then the inquiry history. So this one is happened today, so I don't need to worry about changing this. So the default is 8 days. And the sort order, I'm going to use the allocation date positive. That means the first movement will be on the first line and then the rest will follow underneath that. And also for criteria, we need to pick the internal checkbox, right? This is import. So otherwise, what you would see here is the three lines, which is the first one is the receipt, supplier receipt, and then the second movement is the customer delivery, right? And then the third one is the return, the customer return, 6 units, but we would not see the internal transactions. So to view the internal transactions, we have to click on the criteria and then click internal. Okay, similarly, if you have value changes, you can use the value change checkbox, and then any stock adjustments, you can use the include checkbox. Additionally, we could also modify the screen. So there are two default screens, which is standard and all. So for this purpose, let me select the standard, and then if I tunnel into the standard inquiry screens, I'll be able to create my own. So for example, the reason why I would do that is now the standard has all the columns and the all will have everything. So if I don't want to see every column, then I can edit this screen code from standard to let's say internal, something like that, moments. So, and then I can just change here under the grid where we see all the field names and the order. So for example, I can leave the site allocation not it's not a lot managed, so I can make it 0. Similarly for the sublot 0, I'm not using versioning and no serial numbers. Quantity, so we can put 15 to kind of continue with the numbering order, and the pack, let's leave that. Stock quantity, so I'm just incrementing in flags. Status, warehouse, I'm not managing warehouse. No license plate. Location, yes, I can add that. Identifiers, no. And then stock before, yes, I may need that. And stock after. And then I can use the rest of the ones, set it to 0. Source document type, yes, I could keep that, 55. Original document, source document line, supply lot, execution, use by date, week control, active quantity, potency, original pack, original coefficient, currency, order amount, movement value, variance, movement variance. Whichever I don't want to use it, I can delete those lines. Alright, so create that. Okay. And hit validation. And now I can use that in my research or anything. So that in order, and also I can use the memo button to create a memo for this particular screen and the selections. So I click OK. So now you can see I have the internal movement lines also on this movements grid. So I had issued out Q status of 6 units, and then received in with the status change of A into the same location and a quantity of 6, right? So that's how we use this stock transactions to view the internal movements. And also I could use the SQL Management Studio to view the transactions for that stock movement. So for example, stock transaction BMS 125. So you can see there are 6 lines that we saw on the stock transaction screen as well. And the main thing here to note is if you're using a report or something like that, to which fields to pick to identify the internal movements is the VCR type 29, which is the status change, sorry, stock change, and then the transaction type 9 is for status change. So these are local many values. So you would have different transaction types depending on your movements. Okay, so this is how you would use the values to identify the internal transactions. And now you can also see status here had changed from Q to A here. You can see here, right? Alright, so I hope this is a bit helpful for you to kind of navigate the internal transactions and how it reflects in the tables. And I thank you for your time, and if you have any questions, please let us. Have a good day.